Chapter 1. Tash. Hanging on was easy, but steering was a problem. The flight had been bumpy but thankfully short, and as she came into land, Tash skidded across the landing, through the bedroom door, avoided the bed and managed to manoeuvre the magic suitcase, so it came to an abrupt, shuddering halt against the wardrobe, which just happened to be the suitcase's normal home when not being used for her forays and adventures. As she climbed off the suitcase, she felt soft, comfortable carpet under her paws, when just a few minutes ago it had been warm sand from the Arabian desert. And as much as Tash liked sand, sometimes it was nice to be home surrounded by all her creature comforts. She patted the magic suitcase with affection. "See you on our next adventure," she murmured as she carefully stored the suitcase inside the wardrobe, nestled behind clothes and jackets that hadn't been worn in ages, and shut the door carefully, and not a second too soon as she heard Dad's car pulling up the driveway. What Dad would have thought if he had come home to an empty house didn't bear thinking about. Cats were meant to sleep all day and greet their owners when they came home from work, not be off gallivanting around the world. Hastily making her way out the bedroom, she entered the second spare room, her own room, which doubled up as Dad's games room, complete with computer, dartboard and table football. She jumped up onto the orange sofa, curled up as only a cat can, and pretended to be asleep. Footsteps made their way up the stairs, and a face appeared in the doorway. Dad came in and ruffled Tash's head. "Asleep again then, Tash," he said. "Must be boring being a cat, sleeping all day." As he made his way back onto the landing, 1 foot on the top step of the stairs, he stopped, looked down, and noticed small specks of sand on the carpet. "Where's all this sand come from?" he muttered. "It was weeks ago we came back from holiday, and I'm sure we vacuumed the carpet last night." He shook his head as he made his way down the stairs. That was close, thought Tash, inspecting her paws and licking away the residual sand that still remained. "Must be more careful next time. Can't have Dad finding out about my adventures." She finished her many cleansing session and curled up for a proper sleep this time, drifting off, dreaming about her recent adventure with that brave Lieutenant Colonel, Lawrence of Arabia, in the desert helping the Arab army revolt against the dreadful Ottoman Empire. The following day was Saturday, and both Mum and Dad were at home. Dad had been out in the garden most of the morning, raking up leaves that had fallen from the trees, forming neat mounds of them dotted around the garden. The pair of them had seemed different today, acting a bit strange, excited for some reason, and the excitement grew when the phone rang. Tash could hear snippets of conversation as Mum talked on the phone, and then she hollered to Dad, "Come on, are you ready? They said we can collect in a couple of hours." And Dad trooped off back into the house. "Collect?" thought Tash. Must be talking about some shopping they need to get. She forgot about the conversation as she eyed up the tempting pile of leaves. Tash loved leaves, indeed adored them. She loved to play in them, dive in amongst them, and pretend to catch enemy mice or other such critters that dared to invade her garden. Well, Dad just about hit the roof when he came back out to put away his rake and lock up the shed. The garden, which just a few minutes ago had neat piles of leaves ready to be bagged up, now looked a mess. It looked for all the world as if a huge tornado had swept through, with leaves everywhere. Tash decided now would be a good time to sneak off and headed back into the house. She nipped in through the cat flap, which swung shut with a squeaking noise. Must get those hinges oiled, she thought, and made her way through the kitchen and up the steep stairs, which when you're tired always seem like climbing Mount Everest, the biggest mountain in the world. She made a mental note to visit Everest one day and see how high it really was. Maybe she could help Sir Edmund Hillary be the first person to reach the summit. Now that really would be cool. The thought of being the first cat to climb Everest was definitely worth considering. She jumped up onto her comfy sofa and began to doze off, dreaming of leaves, mice and wondering where her next adventure would take her.